added your name and library to the chat, please go ahead and do that so that your library gets credit for attending today. I'm happy to see many
It
names
just
that I know.
started.
So, the very first thing I want to do is to thank Sandy Welker from Riverside Regional. She served for a long time on the Circulation Committee and is now not. So I'm very pleased to announce that we have two new members to the Circulation Committee, and that is Darcy Humphrey from Carthage. Darcy, you want to wave, or can you hear me, Darcy?
Did you
Can
sign
you
in?
wave?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
Okay,
as
good.
long as one of us is.
Okay. And then
She's on. You better mute yourself.
Madison Morris comes to us from Webster Grove, an MLC library. So I don't know if Madison is on the, I see her name there. So anyway, two new members. We are so thrilled that you are joining us. And so today I want to, we're going to go over issues that have come to my attention that affect the broader Missouri Evergreen community. And so for some of you, you're going to say, I already knew that. But because these issues came up and we are such a large consortium, if it comes up in one spot, it's likely to happen in another. Before we jump into that though, last month, some of you sat through that long working through process of permissions for circulators and circulation admins. So I think we've kind of hammered that out and are where we want to be on that. But during the month, it was posed to me, do we have a need or is there a desire for a circulation permission similar to what cataloging has with Baby Cat? So it's giving their catalogers some permissions, but not the full-blown amount. So for us, I'm not sure what that would look like. But a couple of us has said, if there's a desire or a need for this, we'll work at trying to hammer out what those permissions might look like. But if everybody is satisfied with circulators and circulation admin, we won't divert our energy to coming up with something more on that most basic level. So what do people think?
So Rhonda, do you mean that it would be a permission level that would be like less than what a circulator would be? Like an entry level?
I think that's what they're talking about. I mean, we could make it whatever we wanted if we wanted something. I think it would be for those
Leave it
libraries that have
alone.
somebody that is there for like, I don't know, 10 hours, 12 hours a week. Does, it's harder to keep up on everything, so limiting their ability to do certain things. I I had not thought that we had a need, but just because my library doesn't have a need for it doesn't mean somebody else's might not.
I'll chime in, I think, now that I've got my audio working.
Here you go.
It was actually kind of my idea and my concern. And I don't know that we need a third permission group, but my concern is that just the regular circulator has more permissions than I want some of my people to have. And like, I know bigger libraries have, oh, you have to have a degree to work here or whatever, but we have a lot of people that work very few hours. There's the 90-day probationary period after you start employment. We recently had somebody work 3 days and then be done. And so I just am like, I'm all for the bigger libraries that want their people to have permissions, like to be able to zero out fines. I just would like for that to be in like a circulation admin permissions group. Because God love it, people are gonna people, and I would just like not everyone to have some of those permissions. And that's just my thought, but if nobody else feels that way, maybe we can contact Equinox and see if they can remove a few of those. I don't know. It's just what works for everybody best. I just brought it up because I didn't know if there were other people who felt like, hey, we have somebody that works 8 hours a week. Maybe they shouldn't be able to go in and just wipe out a $300 bill with no paper trail. So anyway, that was just my thought.
So Darcy, to your point of contacting Equinox, what we have set are global permissions. And so we can always add, you can add things, but they will not remove them. So that I want to take that option off the table. So either we are creating this or your people will have these permissions, because that is a discussion that Rhonda and I had as we were developing this. So you can always add permissions, but they do not allow us to take permissions away based on those global settings.
Okay, that's good to know.
Easier option is to not modify the circulators group, but to create a group that is a little bit less than circulators. I haven't heard a call for this from the MLC libraries, but I'm clearly I'd support a library having this as an option if that's what they would like.
I'm curious as to what permissions would this allow? Like, would it be something that volunteers could use, or is it strictly, would it just be checking in and out? Like, what are we looking at?
Well, we're not really looking at anything yet, honestly. To be perfectly honest, I'm thinking, basic checkout, basic check-in, being able to look up something on the catalog and place a hold for somebody. Those seem to be the main things that a frontline person might run into. I don't know.
So is it mostly the same as circulator, but maybe with the ability to affect bills and maybe like removing items or something from the catalog, just without those pieces, maybe?
Well, we can make it, I mean, if we're creating it, we can totally select what we want to put in. So, I mean, that's what I feel like I'm starting from ground zero on this. So,
Other whole crate of books in there for Kabul one
so-
take.
Okay,
So
yeah,
I just got covered for
okay.
It's not
yeah.
something that I've seen a need for, but I'm certainly not adverse if it's something other people could use.
Are there other permissions that were in our discussion last week that other people might have concerns about that we can add to this list in addition to those bills? Just kind of opening the floor for that.
The only reason I even brought this up was the specific ability to zero out accounts, just because there's absolutely no paper trail and there are other options for like our forgive. And if you don't want like void, still you can find that information out in a report, but it wouldn't necessarily show up on a cash report if you void it, I think. But that was the only permission really that, like, because I'm fine if my staff want to mark it lost, if they want to do damage, add bills, remove, whatever. It's just that I just have seen people and that sounds terrible, but I just don't want people that work a few hours a week or literally just came in off the street to be able to have that ability.
So Darcy, are you saying if we took that off of circulators, um, that would fix it for you?
I
Or,
think so, because after, when we discussed all the other permissions, I don't remember having issues with any of the other ones that we discussed. But I just didn't know if other people had other things that they wanted to remove, or if there were other concerns, or if maybe I'm the only one that even it just creates the worst scenario every time I think of anything. And so if circulators had that removed, I would be okay with just using circulators, I think.
okay, committee, what do you, what are you thinking?
I have a question. Is
Sure.
circulators the same as circulation administrator?
No, no.
Okay. Because right now, all of our staff are admin or system administrators, and then we're circulation administrators. And as far as I know, with that permission, they cannot adjust to 0. And we can void, but usually if something happens, if they make a mistake and there's a negative balance, I have to go in because I have the permissions to do so. And I just checked somebody's, and I think it's adjust bills is the permission level. So I don't know if everybody has that permission group or if
So
that's just because we've been in Evergreen for a while.
so am I mistaken in that I thought circulation was the bottom or circulator
It
was
is.
the bottom level, and
It is.
circulation admin is like that could be just like, for example, somebody that wanted people to have that permission, they could use that for just a circ desk staff, the circulator admin. And then like I have like cataloger circulator, but I don't think it's the admin, because I think people up front can have circulation admin. So I don't know.
You can, each library can assign whatever permission level they want to their people. So, I think it makes a difference if, like, Cass County, everybody at the circ desk has the same logins because we don't have individual logins. But other libraries, each individual person has their login, which is associated with their permissions. So it's somewhat dependent upon how your library works.
Okay, that makes sense because I customize the managers. They have a little bit more. I go in and I edit their permissions so they can see certain things that regular staff cannot see. So that's my suggestion is for us to customize if you have your own login, but I didn't realize not everybody has their own individual login because I think that would help because then you could go through and you could pick when you're creating their account what permissions you want them to have and don't have.
We just recently got everybody out front our own login because I thought we were supposed to do that, and it just took us a while to get going. And I think there's assigned circulation admin, which I don't love, but I'm not the one that assigned it. And I was waiting for us to kind of wade through this before I went in to kind of fix it.
All right, so here's what I'm kind of thinking. I am going to go in and play around with that zero out an account thing just with my practice accounts. So it's not really affecting anybody. And I have our admin account, I have our circ admin account. If any of you on the committee, do you have circulators or is everybody a circ admin?
Here at JCL, I think we're all circa admins at the moment.
Okay, I see Andy. Yeah, I'm picking on you because I saw you in the chat there. You said you had a circulator account. Is there a way that you could test that it's working, is there a way you could test that? Guess that's what I'm saying. Or I can just create a practice account that has that circulator permission level. Maybe that's what I'll do. I'm going to practice all of those things and see what happens. And then if we want to adjust it based on what we find out, we'll make a decision perhaps next month. I'll probably email the committee with what I find out, and then we'll maybe make that decision next month. Is that okay with everyone? Okay.
And Rhonda, this is Belinda. I don't mind to also create a circulator account on our end and also test to make sure that we're all getting the same.
Okay. And it may just be that we may not be able to test it unless I'm going to probably need to talk to Equinox first, have them put it on the test server to see, because it's something that we were talking about adding. And so currently I don't think it's on there. So there's going to be a little bit of, I'm going to have to talk to them, get them to do something, then do the test, then get back with you. So kind of that will be the workflow there. So, all right. So now I want to move into just things that have come to my attention or people have emailed me about that affect at least one library or two libraries in the consortium. So I thought perhaps it might be affecting more people than what I know about. So the first one, let me tell you a little story about what happened with the reciprocal borrowing issue. So a patron from Library A walks in to Library B and apparently requested that they place a hold for person who belongs to Library A and send it to Library A's home library. The problem happened that this library account was expired, and the settings, the two libraries had two different settings. One library had the setting block hold request if hold recipient privileges have expired, set to true, and one had it set to false. So it went ahead and renewed the card. They renewed the card and they sent, it was just a series of events. So I went back to, there's reciprocal borrowing agreement, which you can find on the website. It's on under member resources, circulation training. If you go way, way, way down to the very bottom, that's where you can find that agreement. But the agreement says that basically patrons can use their home library to check out materials from, Library A person can go into Library B and they can check out anything in Library B with a few exceptions, a very few exceptions. So it further goes on to say reciprocal borrowers must have their home library card with them. That makes sense. Here's where it gets into reciprocal borrowers may not request materials through interlibrary loan. So do we consider it an interlibrary loan? Number one, if the person walks in and your staff person helps them place a hold and you're sending it to their home location, and what do we do about this renewing, not renewing? So those are my questions. Is it just, there's a certain elegance to just saying you walk into the library, you can check out what is there. But librarians are kind of hardwired to help somebody. And so a person comes up and says, can you place this hold for me? How do we want to interpret that? Yeah.
Sorry, Belinda, please go ahead.
Okay. I want to make sure I'm understanding. So did the library edit another library's card? Like, did they renew, like, if I'm at Poplar Bluff and did they renew like a Cass County card if they were at Poplar Bluff? You
I'm
just
not
said a card was
exactly-
renewed, and I want to
Yeah.
make
They
sure.
will, I'm gonna jump in because this happened to us where another library renewed our card and it was non-resident
Oh.
and they got out of paying us the non-resident fee. And so then we had to contact them. I don't know if the story she's telling is our story, but that's happened to us.
It wasn't,
And we
but
have
that's
an
okay.
agreement.
So that.
Well, we have an agreement with the city that we will, if you don't pay city property taxes, you have to pay, and it's like $20 a year. But they went to another library and the other library just renewed the card. No fee, no, nothing.
I would say
So anyway,
renewing the card's not appropriate. I think
I
placing
didn't think so.
for an expired patron, I personally don't see the problem with it because they would not be able to check out that item at any library unless their card was renewed, which sort of goes hand in hand with Darcy's point. But in my experience, placing the hold for an expired patron is a positive thing because it gets them back into the library where they can get in good standing. If we tell an expired patron that we're not going to place a hold for them, that is a terrible patron experience. I worry that they would not go back to their home library to get to renew their card and we would not see the patron again.
Well, I was thinking that none of us are supposed to edit another library card from another library, period. That's a no-go for everyone. Is that correct? Even if you have a reciprocal borrowing agreement?
That's my understanding of it.
Okay,
As-
and then the other thing is, I remember very early in Evergreen, the setting for, we thought, just like you guys said, that you could place holds on an expired card because the intention is they will come in, you can update the information, and you, and then you have the choice to check it out to them or not, if they have fees, fines, that we don't block on a hold because they are coming to the library to get it.
The problem was, Terry, that I guess the home library has their setting set to where they don't allow their patrons to put a hold on something if their card has expired. And
But
the
I wonder
library,
I wonder if they even thought through that decision. You know what I mean? Some settings just get turned on and then you go, oh, maybe I don't want that on. So that may be something there that discussion as that actually gets the person in your door. But I don't see a problem placing a hold. But I also think there's some fine lines as to whether you're in a reciprocal borrowing agreement or not. Usually if someone walks in from another library, we say you need to deal with all your home library for most all of these things.
well, that was the other issue. Neither library was a reciprocal borrowing library, or it had technically signed it. But as you may or may not know, Cass County is not a reciprocal library, but I could walk into any MEC library and be able to check out something if you let me. Does that make sense? If I walk
Yes.
up to the circ desk and your staff allows me to check out, Evergreen will allow that to happen, whether you have signed that reciprocal agreement or not.
Correct,
So,
which is part of our problem with reciprocal agreements because the system can't be tinkered with to say, we allow these two and we don't allow these over here. It's an all or nothing kind of situation. And a lot of people don't know that.
Katie, did you have a comment?
Yeah, so we have a reciprocal agreement with Riverside, and ours is very unique. We don't use the same reciprocal agreement that Rhonda, you're talking about that's on the website. We have our own little thing that we got going on. However, in order to get that set up correctly, we had to have Equinox make some changes for us. And so that's why I am interested in, Heather said that she wanted to check on the training server because it was my understanding that you could not modify, that the system prohibited you from modifying another patron's record because our reciprocal agreement does allow us to do that to each other's patrons. And we had to have Equinox tinker with the system to make it work. I can't go and test it because my settings have already been messed with by Equinox on both the test server and the real one. So I can't test that. I just know that's what we were told when we were initially setting that up. So I would be interested to see if that's actually the case or not. I know we're not supposed to, but I also thought that the system prevented it. Or was supposed to.
I thought the system prevented it too until it happened, and I was a little bit horrified that the system allowed it, but I don't know what setting or permission allowed it.
Well, I'm thinking with the reciprocal borrowing being turned on, I think it does just have to be allowed. I think it's somewhat a global setting to allow it to happen at all.
Well, so my whole point in bringing this discussion to everybody is so that we could once again kind of remind ourselves of what the parameters are for reciprocal borrowing. Just because I could walk into another library doesn't mean that that other library should recognize my card. I don't know.
I
At
think
least-
it's tricky territory, I think, to be allowing somebody to come in and place a hold on an expired account when it's not their home library. I think it's going to open up the door to other situations where it's not going to be, they should just call most of the time we can renew over the phone. We can let that patron know, hey, you can call right now from your cell phone, renew your account. And they can also place a hold. I don't see the need on why they need to specifically come into a reciprocal library and place a hold. Like, how often is this happening?
I would think it happens just because the person's usually trying to game the system. They know there's something
Right.
wrong with their card. They don't
Right.
want to pay their non-resident fee. They want to get a book they can't get for some other reason. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be some of them.
I think it would be some, but I don't think, from what I understand, that was not the situation that came to my attention. I think it was a case of libraries that are reasonably close to each other, and they went into the other library, and that's, this is what happened. So
Rhonda,
Rhonda.
oh, sorry.
Hi, Rhonda. I'm just going to give you some little history here. There was
great,
a
that'd
reason
be
I'm attending
great.
this one today, huh? Reciprocal borrowing, there was a whole committee set up for Missouri Evergreen. Several of us worked tirelessly trying to figure out, what really happens with reciprocal borrowing and how does Missouri Evergreen, the ILS, react to some of those parameters that have been set in place. And oh, Heather, I'm so sorry. You're finding that you can do a lot of things with other people's cards and holds, and it all becomes staff education. That's why I said that in the chat. Staff education is what your staff is allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do. Because the system, it would take a mountain of money for them to detail out all of the reciprocal borrowing agreements that already are in place. And then, like, as Katie and with Riverside, I think you had suggested that you have your own agreement outside of Missouri Evergreen to where you are able to go change those features. But that is something that Missouri Evergreen, that we found out real fast, that we can go, if you've got a patron account, you can go to any Missouri library with Missouri Evergreen, and you can actually use a self-checkout machine to check out their materials. Ouch! That's not how this was supposed to be set up, but this is what it is. And that's why I'm saying staff education is mandatory, is key to this topic, because you have to inform your staff what you can and cannot do in your patron accounts, and placing holds, and basically just having that great customer service that I know we all have. And you can have that, you can tell a patron no, but in a polite way. I'm sorry, your car belongs to Cass County. I really need for you to have a conversation with Cass County. I can, let me give you the name of somebody that I know that you can contact. Do those things.
Them to me.
I mean, it's just that's how you have to handle that on the staff side. And I know that it's just what we're allowed to do and what we're not allowed to do, because it is, like I said, it would take a mountain of money for them to go in there and really finesse all the reciprocal borrowing agreements in there and say, yes, you can go with this one. No, you can't go with that one. And I mean, just imagine the codes, the coding stuff that would have to happen. And I'm just going to say the words, Missouri Evergreen, we're not in a place financially as a company, we're not in a place where we can even attempt to afford to do that. We have bigger fish to fry rather than this. Little history. We had a reciprocal borrowing committee. It sat there. We met for 3-4 years, I think, and we never got to the bottom of this. So we can sit there and we can turn as much as you want to, but unless somebody else comes up with this really great idea that appeases 80 some members of the consortium, it's probably isn't going to happen. Ouch.
I'll jump in here. And Sue's right. I mean, this committee went on for 3 or 4 years and never could get to a place where anybody could agree on what should be done. And with the amount of money it was going to take, it was just not possible to continue to change every single reciprocal borrowing agreement. So yeah, there are some things you can do that will shock you when you've turned on reciprocal borrowing. And no, you should not do that. You should not change another patron's record. You should not, but it happens.
I think
So
my concern
go
is
ahead.
the consistency, because I'm chatting with some colleagues who say they're not able to modify accounts from other libraries, but in my testing, I am. So I'm wondering now if it is permission group related. If
Permissions.
we do intend to educate our staff, we need to be aware of what their capabilities are. And I know that MLC staff would not be modifying accounts from other libraries. It's not within our practice to do that. And it sounds like at least we are all in agreement on that, which is good.
Well, and I think maybe we just need to outline, okay, if you're a reciprocal borrowing library, you can allow other patrons to check out books or renew books. And then if there's an issue with the account, you can either say, oh, hey, it looks like there's an issue. You'll actually need to go to your home library. Or you could even say, oh, it looks like there's an issue, but you don't owe any fines. So if you'd like, you can go ahead and create an account with us and then because we'll do that. I mean, because we can still help the patron. We just can't start digging into that stuff.
So I don't know that this is a reciprocal borrowing issue because, Rhonda, correct me if I'm wrong, neither of these people were reciprocal borrowers.
No.
And like I said, even if you're a reciprocal borrower, you shouldn't be changing people's, like, that does not give me permission to change somebody else's account, even as a reciprocal borrower. So I don't think it's a reciprocal borrower issue. I think it's a best practices issue of whether or not we change accounts. I think we're all on the same page that we don't change other libraries' accounts, period, end of story. And if you find that that's been done, that you need to re-educate your staff like Sue was talking about. So I think the other issue that we have maybe not talked about as much is whether or not it's okay to place the hold. And Rhonda, you found in this particular situation, it's not necessarily that the hold was placed, it's that the permissions were different that caused the problem that the holds were placed.
Right.
Doesn't the circulation's best practices cover this topic?
It does not specifically cover this.
Maybe it should.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. We need to today come up with, or soon come up with, I mean, I feel like from the discussion, everybody is in agreement that we don't modify somebody else's patron's account. Ever. I mean, like reciprocal borrower, being library or not, whether you assign that agreement or not, if that patron belongs to their home library is somebody other than yours, do not modify anything. So I feel like we're in agreement with that. Do we have a best practice for somebody who walks in and wants us to help them place a hold, but we're going to send it to their own owning, it's going to come to their home library. It's just we actually physically helped them put the hold on.
So this is something we run into occasionally, being very close to libraries that are not a part of Evergreen. So what I have done is just call that library with that patron there, call that library and say, I have one of your patrons and they would like to place a hold on this item. So you are placing it for them, but you're letting that library do it. And then if there's an issue and they can't place that hold for some reason, you're getting the explanation for why they can't do that from that library and letting that patron know this is coming from that library. So that's what we try to do when somebody wants to place a hold at a library that is not a part of our system. And I think you could treat it the same way.
Well, and another part of this is that a patron can go and place a hold and choose to pick it up anywhere they want.
Right.
So whether there's staff intervention or not, they always have that option.
I was gonna suggest you walk them over to a catalog station or whatever, let them log into their account and let them place their own hold. Or help them set up an account if you really want to be, helpful to do that. One of the other things with this is I think we should all feel free to let another library director know when you have these weird situations come up, because they may have a staff member that's new that they think they've told and they're doing the wrong thing. We had someone that was editing our accounts that was a nearby library, and we just called and said, hey, or sent an email and that, you've got a staff member that's editing accounts and you just maybe need to let them know. But, you don't know that it's happening as a director unless somebody tells you it is.
Okay, so I've heard a couple of different suggestions and maybe we offer several options. So one was Lori's idea of call the other library, say we have a patron, one of your patrons wants to place a hold. So contacting that other library. The other thing I heard was help the patron log into their own account and place the hold. So is that preferred over my staff? Somebody from Poplar Bluff is up visiting Kansas City and they come into Cass County. Are those options preferred over my Cass County staff person going ahead and placing that hold for them? Or do we say, as long as it's going to their home location, no harm, no foul?
I will always be an advocate for the patron experience, and we need to encourage patrons to enjoy their libraries. And if we create a barrier, then they're going to have a sour taste. So I'm for letting the other library place the hold as long as there's no restrictions on the account and it doesn't require library B to make a change to a library A patron.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Well,
it
I
needs to be in
think-
there that if it's in red, if there's fines, if there's fees, if it's expired, if there's anything at all wrong with that account, no.
I think, back to what Heather said too, I think it's great if we want to go ahead and place the hold, because then even if their account is expired, that will gear them to renew their card and keep using the library. I think as long as we're not editing, we can place holds, renew however we want to. I think, I mean, not we, because I'm not a reciprocal, but anyone who is, I think that would be fine. I'm not one to split hairs for like, oh, I'm spending, 2 minutes helping your patron, because it's not your patron, it's an evergreen patron, right? So,
Right.
I don't know.
All right. So
For us,
what
I'm sorry.
go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I actually like the idea of staff helping place those holds over sending like a patron to a catalog computer, because immediately you know what's gonna happen. They're not gonna know their PIN number and then we're in the weeds. So staff intervention sounds great to me.
Okay, here's what I'm going to do, committee. I'm going to take a stab at writing a best practice for this, send it out, let you guys edit. Another thing that we'll finalize next month. Okay. All right, on to the second scenario. And this was one, I don't know if Colleen is still she's on the call.
I'm still here.
Okay, talking about the discard weed issue, a library has been using discard weed, but they have never gone in and deleted those items. Hence, they have a large number of items that are in discard weed. And part of, I think this could have happened because back when we were with Mobius, Mobius was big on don't delete anything. Don't, don't take it out of the system. And so I think there could perhaps be some confusion on whether you go ahead and delete those things or not. But this is something Colleen and I were emailing kind of back and forth what we think discard weed is for. So tell me if you all, committee, if you agree with this. So it's basically a status kind of as an interim step to get the items from the branch to the person or cataloger who's actually going to take them out of the system, which gives you time for that person or your acquisitions staff to make a final choice. Do I order something else? But the end game is to get to where you're taking those things out of the catalog. Is that what your understanding of discard weed was?
That's how we use it, as far as I
Okay.
know. I'm now
Okay.
gonna go back and double check, but that is how we use it.
Yes, that's how we use it. Things that are being discarded or weeded at our branch, they then send it to our main library to see if their copy happens to be better than the one we have on the shelf, and then we have the chance to swap it before it gets deleted or put it into our collection here before weeding.
Okay.
So to me, discard weed is completely an interim thing. It's like damage. To me, you got to do something with it at some point.
Yes. So Colleen said, this is what I think, if I'm interpreting, if I'm telling this wrong, Colleen, jump in there, but that
Okay.
when you ran your weeding report, you would include the statuses of missing and damaged along with whatever your weeding
Yes.
things were, so that they could find those things and, if possible, find those things and make choices even then. Is that?
That's correct. The staff marks things missing all the time, because, and sometimes they go away because you find them. But whenever I do a weed list, what I would do is I would not only include things that are available, which you would on a normal weed list, but also include things, their item status is missing and damaged. And if the staff that was pulling those items could not find that missing item at that point, that means we've looked for it 4 or 5 times by this point, I would then delete it. And I was wondering how many people are actually leaving their missing items in the catalog, their damaged items in the catalog, and unfortunately, the item status we discard in the catalog.
I mean, I can see with missing a certain desire to keep it in there for, I don't know, 6 months or something like that, to give the opportunity for that item to show back up. So,
Yes.
I mean, I don't think just because it's missing today does not mean it has to be deleted.
No, I agree with that. Usually my weed reports were things that had been, their status hadn't changed in 2 or 3 years, depending on what I'm looking at. And so if it had been missing for 2 years and you can't find it, delete it.
So all of that, all of this discussion so far to say, do we need some kind of best practice, not a rule, but a best practice
Mhm.
regarding this topic?
I think it never hurts to have a guideline that we should be checking, we should be removing damaged things, that we should be checking for missing things. I mean, those basic collection maintenance prevents bad experiences for patrons when they go to look for something and it's coming up in a status that they don't expect, or a staff, forces a hold for them and then the hold is never filled. That's unpleasant.
It is going to change. I don't run the reports, state reports. I don't know if it will change if you delete, I don't know, 10,000 items from your,
This library is well aware that it's going to really hit their PLS this year. So, we've discussed that. And so, yeah, Corey will have to have a note.
They really have that much?
They have been with Missouri Evergreen since pretty much the beginning, and they had
Oh.
17,000.
Oh,
well, and they were, in their
yeah.
defense, they were told by.
They were told.
Don't do this. And so that's.
When we did our patron purge, I know my library had deleted almost 50% because we had never done a true patron purge because we were told by Mobius, don't do that. So I get it.
and it will affect your stats on a one-time hit, but then you have accurate stats. And we also have an accurate
Exactly.
reflection of what items are available, because right now Missouri Evergreen numbers are off because by how many ever 17,000 or whatever, because those items truly aren't available.
Right. And here's the bad news. I mean, Cass County so Colleen brought this up. I thought, well, let me check. And okay, we've got more than what we need. We need to step up our game on getting them actually out of the catalog. So I don't know how many catalogers are on this call, or you kind of wear double hats and you're going, no, but I don't know if it's how difficult it is. Let's say you find something that's missing after you've deleted it. Is it incredibly difficult to put it back in?
No.
Okay. All right, so we'll work on a best practice for this too.
Rhonda, I just had a quick question because
Sure.
it is about catalog cleanup. Is this a best practice that we write, or is it a best practice that the cataloging committee writes?
I think it's a best practice that we work on perhaps together
Okay.
to make sure that we're not stepping on any, we're not getting out of our lane, but it's like.
That was
letting them-
exactly my concern.
Yeah, okay, here's the issue that has come up. We want to come up with something that we both can live with.
I
Okay.
really think though, that if you bring it up to the cataloging committee, that they're gonna wanna own that and just let them have it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
seriously, I mean, we're seeing it on the front end of the circulation side of it. We're seeing the, the bad patron experiences because the catalog's clogged up with all these discard weed missing and damaged. So we see it on circulation side, but if we just pass this along to the cataloging, I think that they would do that, and they'll probably end up doing it pretty much as we did our patron purge. I kind of see this going forward, like once a year, we're going to system-wide get those out,
That's a good idea.
possibly. That would be something that you could talk with the cataloging committee about. But I don't, like I said, if they want to own that, I would just let them have it.
Oh, I would be more than happy to.
Yeah.
Pass that off to somebody else. Okay. All right, moving on. St. Joseph Public Library has requested that the committee kind of take a look at when our courtesy notices are being sent out. And if we could adjust that to a later time for the specific reason that courtesy notices go out early. They start going out at 8 a.m. We usually come in, I don't know, most libraries probably don't open until 9. So you're trying to deal with everything in the book drop. And then things that have been returned, somebody is getting a notice saying, your things are late, or, those kind of courtesy notices, which is frustrating to the patron because they think they've returned it, which they have. We just haven't been able to process it yet. So I passed this on to Colleen, who talked to Equinox, and they reported back that basically those notices are set up per library system. So it's not necessarily a big deal for one library to change their time, but they wondered, do we want to make it more of a consortium-wide time frame? Or do we want to just have, if individual libraries want to change it, go for it?
Rhonda, can I ask, are we talking about all of the courtesy notices, including like, hey, your library account is going to expire in a month?
No, I think they're talking about the ones like, your thing is overdue,
Okay,
those kind of things.
So those wouldn't run 7 days a week. They would only run on the days that you are open? Or because I
don't know.
have a doctor's office that notifies me on Sunday, and I'm just like, why? And so like I can see like certain hours or certain days of the week, but not all the libraries are, like some libraries are open on Sundays, right? And I just didn't know if that included the I don't know, the 1 month before
Oh,
their
you
account
need to renew the
expires.
card. Yeah. I don't think that's what St. Joe was specifically asking about. It's more like those ones that, but I already brought it back, and now I'm getting a notice that says I need to do something about it.
And I thought many years ago, this was changed to a global setting between 9 and 7 or 9 and 8 p.m. But I guess apparently not. Sue, do you
Well-
remember that early on?
I know we talked about that. I'm sitting there trying to think, with all of our libraries having different checkout periods and hold shelves and things like that, I think, and I usually want to say, yes, do it more consortium wide. But I think on this one, maybe not. I think it needs to be handled by each separate library individually because we all have different hours. Some people, we stay open late 4 days a week. Some people only do late 1 day a week, kind of thing. So I think maybe it might be best to, I don't know how many libraries are concerned about this topic, but I think maybe it might be best for them to review their own policies and their own schedules of when their notices go out before we make it into a consortium wide. If it's 2 or 3, then let them handle that. If it's not, then I don't know.
And they may not be
text
aware
message
they
I
can
was
write
actually-
their own.
Huh.
I was actually going to make a comment very similar to Belinda and was wondering, are we talking about the email notices, the text messages, or both?
Right.
Because I have a feeling that Unique probably has a standard that they needed to send out all of the text messages through MessageBee, but I could be wrong about that.
It's true.
I am almost certain that Steve sent us a schedule, as I was part of the group that was he was kind of giving us stuff ahead of time to make sure we thought it would work. And I am almost certain that text messages are set globally. So we're just talking about phone calls and emails, correct?
Yes,
I
I think
think so.
MessageBee has certain time frames that they do things and in batches at certain times, because I'm almost certain that Steve did send that out. No, I think this is the other ones but I'm wondering if these libraries have any idea that they can adjust their own.
Well, they do now, if they're on.
And so the
On-
question
on
right
this
now,
call.
and the question right now is if we want to globalize it.
Right.
I will be honest, we have just recently personalized it because we had a couple patrons call us within a short time span because they were getting notified during church hours. And so like we specifically went in and changed that. So I don't know that Poplar Bluff would want to lose control of that right now. So I would be a fan of keeping that not globalized personally.
I lean toward that, just because my notices don't affect your notices, and so it's not, I don't feel like necessarily it needs to be a consortium-wide thing. It's more a case of when I want to send out, not me personally, when Cass County wants to send out their notices. But I think the discussion is good just so that libraries now know that if they want to adjust, they can work with Equinox to do that. So any other questions or comments on that? All right, I'm going to try and get through these quick. I want to encourage you to run the clear holds list every single day that your library is open. It's a quick thing to do, and it keeps things moving in the consortium. We all realize, sometimes we miss things or that kind of thing, but let's try and keep up on that. There's a different range of time that libraries use. Some libraries are 5 days that they'll hold it. Some are 7 days, some are 10 days. Those are the 3 that I know about. There might be other ones too. So, and then of course you get into problems with, okay, a book club is probably going to want to keep that book a little longer than what your normal patron would. So there's some different things. So when you're running those reports to find your holds that are on the hold shelf, but they're at somebody else's library's hold shelf, take a minute to check to see if those items are book club books or some kind of patron group where there's a logical bookmobile is another good one, that you might not, it might take them in their schedule longer to get around and back to the stop where the person would be to pick up that item. So as you're running reports, to look for those items, make sure you allow some wiggle room time. It's not like, okay, it's 10 days and I should have had that back in, so I don't necessarily feel like at this time we need to have a rule about, okay, it can only sit on somebody's hold shelf a certain amount of time, but I would like to just give you the reminder to go ahead and do it every single day. Run that report every single day.
And take a
Rhonda-
look please at your setting for that, and is it reasonable or is it too long? And can we discourage putting books on displays at other libraries? Because those books just sit there and they could be circulating.
Right, I know with our library, we
We
set the
only
policy
use
with our
displays of
staff
your
to
own
not do
items.
display, that we're evergreen.
Right. Again, I think it's probably a best practice that if you're going to display things, you're going to display things from your library. Although there
Yes.
are occasional times that you need something specialized that your library is not going to have enough of. So it might be worth letting the other library know that you're doing a special display for this amount of time.
You can go to
So-
Amazon, you can print off a book cover, you can put the book cover on display instead
There
of the
you go.
book.
There you go.
Sorry, that's how I look at that.
No,
I'm
that's
not using
fine.
anybody else's books for display purposes. That
Right.
is not the spirit of resource sharing. It's for patrons use, not for display use.
Right.
what was good.
Right, we
My
will
notes
have something,
Print it off, use that for the display, and go on with your happy little way.
Yeah.
right, the one things that we may keep longer are, like she was saying, our like homebound patrons where the staff may go every couple weeks. And so if they get something in for that patron the day after they just went, it may be a little longer before they're able to get that book to the patron. And occasionally book clubs, but we're trying to discourage a lot of the book clubs, borrowing a lot from Evergreen.
Can I ask a question, Rhonda?
Yeah, sure.
We clear our whole shelf every day, and but my question is, are other libraries going in and being like, oh, they've had that on their whole shelf for a long time? Because like if a patron calls me and says, oh my gosh, we were on vacation, I got the notification and it says it expires today and we're not going to be back into town, we'll be like, okay, cool, we'll adjust it for a day, we'll put a note on there that says hold it till tomorrow. Because I think that's good patron service, right? Because otherwise what, we're going to send it back and then they're going to request it again and then they're going to send it back to us. And I just wonder, is that the concern about this clearing the whole shelf daily? Are people like, or if we're closed for maintenance, I'll go in and be like, hey, they didn't get their full 7 days to come pick it up, I'm going to go ahead and adjust that a day. Or inclement weather or anything else that pops up. And I just wondered, are people concerned that other libraries are keeping them too long on hold? Or
I don't think it's just the day or two. It's like whenever I run a report, it'll be stuff that's on there for 2.5 months.
Exactly.
And it's been expired. And in that case, I say modify the hold dates, change the hold dates then so that I'm aware, because I'm not always aware that it's a Bookmobile patron unless I'm looking deeply on there. You guys know your patrons better, so that needs to be extended on your side instead of me, because I send out email. I do that every month. Is I'm like, hey, this has been on there, and I give it 30 days. I give it some leeway time because I know things happen. And I try to remind my staff, especially with book club books, check that out to the book club account and you can extend the due dates on those. That's fine. It shows up on my report and then I'm sending out emails and then it's an outreach patron, I think we should just extend the hold dates for those situations.
And I mean, I think we're the ones that started it. I do the same thing as Macy. Every month we run a report. And not only that, there are canceled holds on there that haven't been cleared, that have been sitting there for a month or two. And heck, I've emailed Macy and she's like, oh, we were flooded. Okay, cool.
Yes.
It's a conversation that you have, but it's also, I check our shelf daily. And then I run the report monthly because those books should be circulating, but it's sitting on your hold shelf for 2 months, which means no one else is getting it.
Yeah, which also is transit lists too. So
Yes.
just so everyone knows, our Herman branch flooded. So if you're seeing things that are in transit to Herman and they've been in transit for 2 months, 2.5 months, going on 3 months, they're sitting in a box somewhere. I promise we'll get to them.
This is a good segue. Texas County is moving one of their branches. So Louise, are you still on the call? I don't hear her. So I heard that they are moving a branch, so that's going to affect some of the transit things. And then Poplar Bluff, Belinda, can you explain what's going on with yours?
Yes. So we have had tornado damage. And hopefully we're opening in September, but our close date was set through January. And one of the problems that we have run into Equinox, for anybody that has a closed building, Macy, I'm looking at you, friend. If you have it indefinitely closed for an extended period of time, anybody who has that set as their home library, when they renew, it renews past that date. So we had people who had items that they were not going to have to return till January of 2026. And so, and that has continually been an issue. So unless we change their home library, we can't stop it right now. So we are running a report regularly and trying to fix that. I'm really sorry, guys. But in case anybody else is having that issue, or has a closed branch, you might want to go check and see if you have some due dates set way out into the future.
Yes, yeah, that emergency closing will set everything into that last date of emergency closing. Luckily, we should be open. Well, I say that. We've been saying that for 2 months now. Hopefully we're open in a month, but we'll see. But yeah, we were running into that also. And I have a report that I go in and I change everything
Mhm.
that someone had on hold to be picked up in Herman. I had to change to New Haven, and we've got a running list that we all share, and yeah, you know the
Yes.
struggle.
Yes, yeah. Our pickups are not bad. It is the very long out renewal dates, and it's specifically related to when the library, when that item renews, it pushes out that past the emergency closing date, and Equinox has said there's nothing that they can do. So we are running that
Yeah.
regularly. And just so anybody else is aware, if they have a closed branch.
Okay, so that's gonna be Texas County has one, Poplar Bluff has one, Scenic has one that we know of. So, at least everybody at least knows what's going on. So the very last thing I wanted to let you know is that, there are going to be some bug fixes applied tomorrow. That should fix the problem of notices being sent to people who have intentionally said they don't want to receive notices. So they've gone through and done the testing. Supposedly, it's supposed to be in the update that happens Wednesday. So relief is on the way anyway. So, all right, this has been a longer meeting, but good discussion. Is there anything else that we need to chat about?
Can I
Oh,
ask
I
a quick
have.
question?
Oh, go ahead, Darcy.
Sorry, go ahead, Macy. No, you're fine.
I was just gonna ask about if anyone has noticed an increase or a decrease of courier times. We've been having some issues with our courier, Mala specifically, um, where sometimes we'll get like 1 or 2 bags, and then one day we'll get a crap ton. Um, I know this happens sometimes, but I feel like it's been happening more often this summer, and I wasn't sure if anyone else was also experiencing that. And I also heard that there is the tracking system. I didn't know if we knew anything else about that. I've checked the Mala website and I don't see any updates, and I want to get ahead on that if that's gonna um, entail more of a job for our delivery person.
Um, all I know is Kansas City Hub has had trouble for the last month.
Right.
I didn't know that you all over in St. Louis were having the same issues. I think it's because Henry merged with, I think it's called Capital Express. And so they're redoing routes from what I understand. So I've been
Okay.
emailing, Katrina and I have been having a almost daily conversation with what's going on here at Cass County. My hope is that soon, because all this started about a month ago, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
So
So
Macy, I will throw in like Kirkwood Public Library. We seem to get bags on like certain days and then more like boxes and just bins of stuff on certain days. So like it feels like on some days, like Fridays, I feel like we get all the bags.
Yeah.
Or like Fridays and like Tuesday. And then the other days it doesn't feel like we're getting deliveries of like bins and boxes, but like the bags aren't. It's almost like I feel like they're sorting the bags on certain days. I don't know, but I feel your pain because I've had to ask. There have been several days where we've just like run out of bags where I'm like, and Mala, we need more bags. And then all of a sudden one day
Yeah.
we'll have tons of bags. And then you give it, a week and a half and then we're out of bags again. So
Yeah,
I
there's
feel
no
your pain.
method to the madness.
Macy, we've had ours fluctuate like that before. Do you have a new delivery person at all? Because I feel like the last Mala holiday that was I think it was Juneteenth, not July 4th, but Juneteenth, where our library was not closed, but Mala was. I told my staff, I said, hey, no need to put the courier stuff out. They won't be here today. They're closed. And the guy showed up anyway. And I was like, hey, dude, we did not have anything ready for you because you guys are closed. He's like, well, if I didn't come today, I wouldn't be able to get everything in my car. And I think there's a lot of that where like it depends on what they can fit in their vehicle.
The driver, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of the driver capacity, and then the hub, like the sorting, because right now we're doing okay, but we've had periods like that where it's like one day we get 2 books and another day we get 10 totes.
Well, we keep getting new drivers.
Oh yeah.
It seems like they last a few weeks and then we get a new one. And then things kind of get backed up. And I know and they deliver pharmaceuticals also. So, and I'm sure that takes priority over library stuff. And so I didn't know if that had something to do with it, but I'm like, well, maybe it's just us. Maybe it's just the St. Louis hub. I wasn't sure.
I know they're working on it, and
Okay.
Katrina is in contact with them. But she does want to know if things are not going as they should. She does want to know. So I
Okay.
will say that, use that, thing on the website where you can turn in a report.
Okay.
Yeah, that's another thing, Macy. On days when, like, if we get like maybe 2 bags of materials, I will go in, even if it's not my transit list day, I'll go in and take a look at that, and I'll report it on the Mala site and be like, hey, we've got this many in transit to the library from this date to this date, and today we got 10 items. Just so they can kind of be aware that this is happening, and that helps them, I think.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Ooh.
Well, anything else?
I have
Yes.
something, sorry.
Okay.
It's kind of Mala related, so I don't know. We may have to have an extra courier day next fiscal year. And I besides being circ manager, I also do all the state statistics and all that jazz, and I love statistics. And so I have been trying to find out what the criteria is for how many courier days you have to have. And I emailed, I think it's Jane and Katrina like 2 weeks ago today, and I can't get from anybody. Does anybody know those criteria? Or do I just need to keep trying with them? Do I just need to email them back again? Because because our statistics, I do monthly board statistics, I do yearly statistics, and I cannot, I can't see a big change.
It's in the MOU.
Yeah. Katie put in a thing in the chat that it's in the MOU.
The
Okay,
MOU.
all right. So I just need to locate our signed MOU.
No. It's the new MOU. It's in latest edition.
If your library
Yeah.
has signed the new MOU, which most of them have,
Okay.
then
Right.
it'll be there. If not, get with me, email me, reminder. Jane, I had asked this same question from Jane for another library that's coming on board. And so
Okay.
I actually have it in an email someplace.
Okay, great. I will double check that. I may have to wait and talk to our director when she's in the next day, but great. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Sure. All right. Anything else? All right, not hearing anything. Thank you for hanging for a long time. This turned into a longer meeting than I thought, but thanks for being here, and we'll see you next month.